Welcome, gentle soul. Tonight, we aren't just looking at ruins or dusty museum shelves. We are going back. I want you to close your eyes and let the sounds of the modern world, the hum of your refrigerator, the distant sirens, the glow of your phone, fade away. Replace them with the sound of water lapping against the reeds, the smell of sun-baked mud and flowering lotus, the feel of a dry desert breeze against your skin. It is 3000 B.C.E. You are standing on the banks of the Nile. To the people here, this isn't just a river. It is a pulse. It is life itself. Tonight, we're going to walk in their sandals. We're going to see that the man complaining about his boss in a limestone quarry 5,000 years ago isn't much different from you venting on Slack today. We will explore the lives of the forgotten, the farmers, the bakers, the perfume makers, and the elite who pulled the strings. Whether you're listening from a busy apartment in New York or a quiet house in the suburbs, I'm glad you're here. Let's watch the sun rise over a world that was old before the rest of the world even began to learn how to read. Pause 3 seconds. The first thing you notice is the light. To an Egyptian, the sunrise wasn't just morning. It was the daily rebirth of the sun god Ra. If the sun came up, it meant the world hadn't ended in the night. That's a pretty good reason to get out of bed, right? No snooze buttons here. Most Egyptians lived in mud brick houses. Now don't think hovel. Think brilliant desert engineering. These bricks were thick, keeping the inside cool when the midday sun tried to turn the world into an oven. The first person stirring is the woman of the house. Let's call her Nebet. Nebet doesn't wake up to a coffee maker. She wakes up to the sound of the quern, a flat stone used to grind grain. If you think your morning workout is tough, try grinding enough emmer wheat for a family of 6 before the sun is even fully over the horizon. Fresh bread was the heartbeat of Egypt. It was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was also their currency. Imagine paying for your Netflix subscription in sourdough loaves. That was the Egyptian reality. While the bread is baking in a clay oven in the courtyard, the rest of the family starts their hygiene routine. And let me tell you, the Egyptians were obsessed with being clean. In a world of sand and sweat, being dirty was considered low class and spiritually unpure. They didn't have toothpaste tubes, but they had the chew stick, twigs from the Salvadora persica tree. It has natural antibacterial properties. They even had a powder made of salt, mint, and dried iris flowers. If you were wealthy, you might even have a splash of toothpaste made from ground pumice. And then, there's the makeup. Both men and women reach for the Kohl. That iconic black eyeliner wasn't just for looks. It was the ancient version of polarized sunglasses. It cut the glare of the desert sun and acted as a disinfectant to keep away those pesky Nile eye infections. As Nebet applies her liner using a small bronze stick, she's not just getting ready for a look, she's putting on her armor for the day. Breakfast is served. It's simple. Bread, maybe an onion or a clove of garlic for energy, and a jar of beer. Now don't worry. They aren't starting the day intoxicated. This isn't the craft IPA you find at a brewery. This was Hiket. It was thick, like a smoothie, full of nutrients, and very low in alcohol. It was safer to drink than the river water, which, let's be honest, was shared with crocodiles and hippos. Even the kids drank it. It was truly liquid bread. By 7 a.m., the heat is already starting to shimmer. For 80% of the population, the next few hours are a battle with the earth. Let's follow a farmer named Hori. Hori's life is governed by a calendar of 3 seasons: Akhet, the inundation, Pare, the growing, and Shemu, the harvest. If it's the growing season, Hori is waist deep in the black silt left behind by the Nile. He's using a wooden plow pulled by 2 stubborn oxen. It's backbreaking, but Hori feels a sense of pride. He isn't just growing food. He is participating in the divine order, or Ma'at. But here's the human touch. Hori doesn't own this land. He's essentially a sharecropper. He owes a huge portion of his grain to the Pharaohs' granaries and the local temple. Tax season in ancient Egypt didn't happen once a year in April. It happened every time the grain was measured. If you think your boss is micromanager, imagine a royal scribe standing at the edge of your field with a reed pen and a scroll of papyrus, counting every single bushel you produce. One mistake, and you're in for a very uncomfortable conversation with the local magistrate. Hori's kids are there too. No school for them. The boys are scaring away birds with slingshots. The girls are carrying jars of water to the workers. They are learning by doing. In Egypt, you weren't what you wanted to be when you grew up. You were what your father was. It was stable, sure, but imagine the pressure if you were a farmer's son who just wanted to paint. As we move into the city, let's say ancient Thebes, the sounds change. The rhythmic thwack-thwack of the fields is replaced by the clinking of bronze chisels and the shouts of merchants. Meet Marir, a master carpenter. Marir is working on a chair for a wealthy noble. This isn't just furniture, it's a status symbol. He's using imported cedar wood from Lebanon because, let's face it, local acacia wood is grainy and tough to work with. Marir deals with workplace drama that sounds oddly familiar. His apprentice is late again because he was out at a tavern late last night. The copper supply is delayed because the miners in the Sinai are on strike. Yes, Egyptians had the first recorded strikes in history, and his client keeps changing his mind about the lion-shaped legs for the chair. Make it look more regal, the client says. Some things never change. Meanwhile, in a cool, shaded building nearby, we find the tech workers of the ancient world, the scribes. Being a scribe was the ultimate white-collar job. They were the only ones who could read and write the complex Medu Neter, the words of the gods, hieroglyphs. They were the accountants, the lawyers, the poets, and the spies. The training was brutal. We have found schoolboy tablets where teachers wrote, "A boy's ears are on his back. He listens only when he is beaten." Ouch. But if you survived the training, you were set for life. You didn't have to plow fields in the sun. You wore clean white linen. You sat in the shade. You were the influencers of the Bronze Age. They even wrote poems to themselves about how much better it was to be a scribe than a blacksmith or a soldier. The ego was real.
By 11 a.m., the sun is a physical weight. The market is a chaos of smells, roasted fish, incense, cumin, and sweat. And here is where ancient Egypt breaks the mold of the ancient world. See that woman negotiating for a shipment of linen? That's a business owner. In Egypt, women had rights that would make a Greek or Roman woman weep with envy. They could own property. They could file for divorce. They could run businesses. They could even serve as doctors. If a woman's husband died, she didn't just disappear, she inherited the estate. We have papyrus records of women suing men in court and winning. In the market, there are no coins, no credit cards. It's all barter. Everything has a value based on a deben, a standard weight of copper. If your sack of grain is worth 2 deben, and that copper mirror is worth 2 deben, you've got a deal. But the haggling is an art form. It's a social dance. You don't just trade. You talk about your family. You share a cup of beer. You complain about the price of oil. It's a community, not just a transaction. From noon until 3 p.m., the world stops. It's too hot to breathe, let alone work. The wealthy retreat to their gardens. They have rectangular pools filled with lotus flowers and tilapia fish. They sit under sycamore trees, fanned by servants, and eat chilled grapes. But even for the poor, this is a time for the siesta. People sleep on their flat roofs, catching the north wind, the cool breeze that blows off the Mediterranean down the Nile. This is also the time for the physicians. Ancient Egyptian medicine was a weird and wonderful mix of "that's actually genius" and "what were they thinking?" If you had a cut, they'd apply moldy bread. Sounds gross, right? But that's basically raw penicillin. They knew how to set bones with linen splints that we still use in a similar form today. They understood that the heart was the center of the body's vessels. On the other hand, if you had a headache, they might suggest rubbing an electric catfish on your forehead or wearing a magical amulet. Hey, placebos work too. Everything in their day was a balance. They called it ma'at. Order, balance, justice. If you worked hard, respected the gods, and treated your neighbors fairly, the Nile would flood and your heart would be light as a feather when you eventually stood before Osiris. It was a world without seconds and minutes, but they were never late. They were perfectly synced with the shadows. As the sun begins to dip, the world turns gold. This is the best part of the day. The families gather. The main meal is served. Roasted duck for the rich, lentil stew and salted fish for the rest. They sit on mats on the floor. Then come the games. They play Senate. It's a board game with 30 squares. It looks like a simple race game, but to them, it was a map of the journey to the afterlife. Every roll of the sticks was a step toward eternity. There's music, not the loud, heavy beats of today, but the gentle strumming of the harp, the haunting notes of the reed flute, and the steady pulse of a hand drum. They sang about the beauty of the river, the sweetness of wine, and the love they had for their partners. As the stars come out, stars that were much brighter back then without the light pollution of our cities, the family climbs up to the roof to sleep. They look up to the imperishable stars. They don't feel small, they feel connected. They know that tomorrow Ra will be reborn, the Nile will flow, and their lives, though brief, are part of a story that will last forever. As your own day comes to a close and you prepare for your own rebirth tomorrow morning, take a piece of that ancient peace with you. The Egyptians faced crocodiles, heat waves, and taxes. They loved, they gossiped, they worried about their kids, and they worked for a better future. They were us, just in different clothes. If you enjoyed this journey through the sands of time, I'd love to hear where you were listening from tonight. Did the sounds of the Nile bring you a bit of calm? Don't forget to subscribe for more quiet journeys into the past. There are so many more stories waiting to be told. Sleep well, gentle soul. May your heart be as light as a feather. Good night.